Hello guys, it's Mikefield here and welcome to this guide. I'm going to share 5 very big tips for Resto Shamans in this video, and I think those are very important things for you to know. Now before we continue, please remember to hit the subscribe button, like the video, let me know what you think, and also try to follow me on Twitch, link below, also visible on the screen right now. So guys, Restoration Shamans are probably some of the most popular healers, and with the Kyrian changes, I think they will be the king of M+, alongside Ventir Holy Paladins. And this being said, I think there are a few things that people who are new to Resto Shamans just simply do not know, and I'd like to share with you those 5 cool tips for playing Resto that I have been able to learn over the course of my own gameplay. And those are the things that I believe will improve your gameplay overall, like quite a bit. And guys, this very first important thing is related to Spiritwalker's Grace. It's a very useful ability allowing you to cast while moving. But what many people do not know is that you can actually cast it while channeling without interrupting the said channel. That's something many people just do not consider. So let's have a look at how it works. I'm going to cast my Healing Wave, I'm going to cast my Spiritwalker's Grace, and as you can see, I both finish my channel and start moving while casting, and then it obviously allows me to keep casting afterwards. The really cool thing about this Spiritwalker's Grace is that you can do it while, a dangerous mechanic is happening. You need to both move out of harm's way and heal your allies, or, one of the two things happen, like you die or your ally dies. So it's a very cool mechanic for healers, because this actually allows you to save your allies and, without interrupting your casting, move out of harm's way. It is really useful both in raids, because a lot of the raid fights in Sanctum of Domination, presumably 9.2 as well, will involve a lot of movement. And then again, in M+, movement is really key. It allows you to actually just kind of get from A to B fast. It allows you to dodge out of harm's way. It does allow you to position yourself for certain abilities too. So overall, it is a very crucial thing to just remember Spiritwalker's Grace. There's also a little bit of an added value here if you are playing Necrolord, because your shield actually, so your Fleshcraft, is an ability that seems very useful on paper, but in reality, you don't really cast it too much in M+, simply because when you move from one mob to another, from one pack to another that is, you will not have the time to use it. Now, if you actually use Spiritwalker's Grace between the packs, not only will you move faster from one pack to another, you'll also be able to channel your ability, get this huge, ridiculously huge shield for 40% of your maximum HP for 2 minutes, and benefit from Emany as well, the pastures that give you extra damage and healing when you are actually healing allies nearby or healing yourself. So this is a little bit of added value. You can get a lot out of this Covenant ability, both in terms of damage and in terms of healing, and obviously you keep yourself alive so you can focus on healing your allies. It's a really cool combo, so every single pack when you know you might not need to use Spiritwalker's Grace, you can actually use it while moving to get this extra benefit of your Covenant ability, which is honestly a very big deal. I think this is one of the coolest designs for Covenant abilities overall. So if you're a Necrolord, obviously in M+, a little bit less optimal than Kyrian, but this is something that will obviously give you some extra value or bang for your buck. Now we're going to move to tip number 2. The second tip is actually related to the bonus Cloudburst charges you can get from your Primordial Wave ability, which is Necrolord Covenant ability, in fact. So this is very useful in raid settings and for all those Necrolord Shamans out there who are still doing M+. And it's a very cool thing, honestly, because it can get you a lot of healing for free, even if you mess up your rotation a little bit. So this basically hinges on the fact that your totem can expire right before you are able to unload your Primordial Waves proc onto your allies, right? Because Primordial Wave places a stack of Riptide, and once you actually use a Healing Wave, all allies affected by that Riptide are healed for a decent amount of HP, right? This is very useful in those large fights, or even, 5 people doing an M+ dungeon. Now the trick with this ability is that unlike a regular Healing Wave that doesn't actually do this, you can actually use your Healing Wave to proc this ability, and as you finish casting your Healing Wave, you can drop the Cloudburst Totem, and this totem will actually get all the charges in. So it will actually charge even though theoretically the Primordial Wave releases the healing before it is dropped. So let me just kind of show you how it works. So we'll drop our Primordial Wave on this guy over here, right? I have a weak aura that tracks my ability uses and tracks my stacks on my Cloudburst, I'm going to use my Healing Wave, and as it releases, I'm going to drop my Cloudburst. As you guys can say, it did actually accrue 5k healing, which means that is a decent amount, right? If you have like 5 people tagged by this is going to be, well, around 15k, I would guess, depending on the setting, and then plus obviously you have some extra stats going on as well. So this is a decent amount of charges going right into the totem, also ready to be released on demand. If you are in a raid setting, and if you are a Necrolord as well, you're going to get a lot of those stacks across the board. So this charge is going to be quite substantial for your HPS, and obviously for your raid survivability as well. So it's a very, very large contribution to your overall healing, I think, situationally anyway. And it allows you to honestly just stay alive, and it provides you with a very decent bonus to survivability overall. You cannot do this with regular Healing Wave, let's see, so I'm just gonna drop the Healing Wave and spam my Cloudburst. As you can see, it doesn't charge. But those charges from Primordial Wave do go through, and they actually accrue over here, and this gives you a very decent amount of healing for future reference. I think it's a very, very cool mechanic for Necrolords to use. Okay guys, the next 2 tips I think are going to be related to your Earth Elemental and its survivability. One of them is a very simple macro, which I'm going to show you right away, and that macro actually gives you the ability to target the Elemental, okay? It's going to be provided in the description below, so you can just kind of take it away from here. So it requires you to double tap your Earth Elemental ability, and as you do so, it will do basically 3 things. First of all, you drop your Elemental. You need to be in group to do this, by the way. And as you do this, you can see that first of all, my character releases the Elemental. Second of all, it screams, taunt the Elemental, right? You can actually keep pressing this to do this job. And this allows you to communicate with your tank without having to say anything to get rid of the aggro from the alley, because even a very tanky Elemental is going to take lots of damage. As you might have noticed, the third thing is that it takes the Earth Elemental to the focus element of my UI. I'm using LVI. It is also available on my Discord, so I invite you to take it away from there. And it actually allows you to target that Elemental with your mouse over abilities, such as, Riptide or Healing Wave, or even Earth Shield. So this is a very big thing. If you're trying to keep your Elemental alive, mind you, 5-minute cooldown, 1 minute on the field if you can keep it alive, you are actually going to get a lot more out of it. So healing it and having like a little bit of your attention focused on that is really important. As you can see, the Elemental itself does 2k single target DPS. It's a lot. In a massive pool, it can do probably like 16k. I've seen it do 20-something thousand as well. It is like a little walking Ashen Hollow that doesn't heal, okay, but it taunts. So keeping that thing alive through those kind of dire large pools is really important to your team's DPS overall, obviously to your contribution to the damage and to the speed at which the dungeon progresses. So keeping that alive is very important. Hence, actually the second tip. Sorry, I stumbled upon my words there. The second tip is actually related to your gear. So many people do not know this, but your Elemental inherits 600% of your character's armor. And a large percentage, about 40-something% of your total armor for the Restoration Shaman is actually your shield. As you guys can see, my 252 shield has 762 armor. It's a huge amount, honestly. 762 is massive because it is, as I said, 40% of my total armor. Multiplied by 6 and you get the armor that your Elemental is going to receive from the shield alone. It is absolutely monumental of a bonus. So not having that extra defensives on your Elemental, especially in the higher keys, means it's very likely to just be one-shot other instead of, just kind of staying around, staying alive, and getting that really decent damage reduction. So those 2 tips, have a shield, use this macro, are really important. It's also quite a good idea, actually. There are 2 more things. First of all, let your tank know before the dungeon starts to taunt shit of the Elemental. It's pretty important because this means that, they'll have like extra attention to that. And if your Elemental happens to taunt this super hard hitting mob or 2, you can actually trust your tank to take that aggro off. And it's easier to heal your tank than heal the Elemental, especially that you probably might want to keep your Earth Shield on the tank rather than on the alley itself. So obviously tank also might have some extra defensive abilities. The second tip is actually related to when you use the Elemental. I would say use it when the pool is ongoing, when you, by the way, have your capacitor totem ready as well, so that you can actually allow your elemental to do as much damage as possible, and your team can clean up the pool. This is because if you use it mid pool 1, it's very likely that you can travel to the second pool and drop the, utilize the very same elemental again. I would say in M+, it's absolutely indispensable of a tool if you are actually running this legendary and you're actually trying to get as much damage as you can out of the elemental. So this will probably propel you to up to about like 4,000 DPS as Necrolord Resto Shaman, which is really a decent amount of damage, right? Overall, right, in a dungeon run. So I think this is a very, very useful set of tips, and having that control over the elemental and planning how to use it is a crucial part of playing Necrolord in M+. Obviously, once those Covenant switches are allowed, you'll probably be willing to switch to Kyrian anyway, but as long as you're using this in M+, I think that's a very, very, very strong tool. Okay, the last tip is related to Wellspring, and Wellspring is the ability that allows you to heal your raid specifically, right? It's an ability that you take for raiding, mostly, and it gives you a very large amount of healing altogether, because it is basically capped to 6 targets for full healing, and it does 4-point-something K to each of them. Now, the very important detail about this ability is that it has a, first of all, smart heal, which means it will target the people who are hurt first, and second of all, it also splits the healing if it, more targets than 6 require to be healed. Now, you can actually circumvent that last bit, and you can avoid splitting the healing and instead use almost full healing of this ability across the board for your raid. And to do so, actually, you just need to time it well. So it is a channeled skill, and if you can actually time it so that it starts flying, so you kind of release the Wellspring, right before a large instance of damage is going to hit, such as, the chains breaking, or for Soul Render, or the weapon hitting from Painsmith, this ability will actually grant you a lot of bonus healing, because it will just kind of circumvent the target cap and it will just give you the extra full heal to everybody concerned who gets hit by the Wellspring. Now, this is relatively difficult to do for the first few times in the raid setting, I know that, but as you get better at this, you can get a lot of extra HPS throughout the fight. Obviously, this is not something you should kind of tunnel vision on. It's not like this is the end of the world if you don't get that extra combo. I feel it's kind of buggy as well in a way, but it is a very, very useful ability overall. So if you can utilize it in those kind of larger fights, you can actually get a lot of extra HPS for that, probably parse better and so on and so forth. It is not something that is required for you to do as a Resto Shaman, to time things neatly, and to kind of keep everybody alive. It's not like you must actually time every single Wellspring so that gets that extra buggy amount of healing, but it is a very useful ability nonetheless. Now, a little note here, this trick requires your party to be fully healed beforehand. So only the people who are fully topped right before that large instance of damage hits and Wellspring is released, right? They will get the extra healing. If people are not topped, I think it will just kind of try to split the healing anyway. So it's not like an amazing ability that solves all the problems in fights, because it's not like it basically requires a lot of those conditions to be fulfilled. But if you can use it maybe like twice or thrice per fight to get the extra HPS, I think it's already a very, very big deal, because you just kind of get a lot more going for yourself in the fights. Wellspring also can be used with your Cloudburst Totem, by the way, the same way that we use Primordial Wave. So as you finish your channel, you can actually cast the totem. It will benefit from that, right? You can see here, there is nobody probably in the AoE, so it didn't heal anyone. But if there are allies, you can actually benefit from the totem being cast and the Wellspring being cast right after. So it's kind of an important big deal as well to kind of be doing this. There's also a YouTube video that I'm going to link you to that explains this in depth. I think it's worth actually consulting the source, because I think that person discovered it first, so we're just kind of going to give them the credit that is due. And this being said, guys, I think this is it for the video. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you appreciate the content. If you do, please click the subscribe button, like the video, let me know what you think in the comments below. And once again, a quick reminder, I do actually stream on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Mikefield, you can find me there, and you can find me playing World of Warcraft, Age of Empires 4, and some other cool games, so just kind of stay tuned for more. This being said, this is it from me today, so see you around, guys. I hope you have a blast with those tips and you can actually use them to your advantage. Bye-bye.